Oh, what a beautiful morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the portion. Welcome, Brenda and I. Hey, welcome, Brenda. Good to two,
Hey,
2 weeks in a row.
I know.
I'm so
It's
excited.
I know it's so wonderful to be
So
back.
exciting. We have a fun, this is a fun Parsha. And before we get into that, I'll just real quick say, hey, doors are open. So for those of you who are excited and wanted to join us at our next conference, it's While She Waits. Brenda, this is going to be a fun conference. I'm excited. I know you're doing a special talk for us on one of our breakout sessions. We have
Yes.
several of our teachers coming in to do breakout sessions for you guys. You get to know them. If you're not in the cafe, you get exposed to their genius. But you know what? We're kind of talking about what the Holy One has kind of downloaded for us is that this is the season. We just left Shavuot, and then we have this like waiting period, right? But before the next festival or feast. And we can look at it as the betrothal happened. I know Tamara Sheeran, amazing, she brought this to our attention. The betrothal happens at Shavuot, and then now we're waiting for the wedding feast and what happens in this waiting period. So that's the reason why we called it While She Waits. And we're just going to be talking from all different perspectives of what do you do in this lineal space? What do you do in this time in the waiting? I'm going to tell you, I used to say that the waiting spaces or the gray areas in my life were my hell. Like if I don't have to, this is what hell is to me. I don't like not knowing what's next. I don't like waiting. And I don't mean I don't know what the answers are. He's not saying anything. He's being quiet, or he's saying, keep doing what I told you last time, right, Brent?
Oh, geez. I know that one well. That's a story we'll have to tell sometime.
Yeah, for sure. That's a funny story. So we just have to realize that there's something that he does during those waiting periods. There's magic that happens. There's things that are healed
Yes.
inside of us, and we're
Yes.
tapping away, wanting to get the answer right away. But he's saying, I've got work to do. And I mean, that really kind of is a good segue into what we're doing right now. We see Korach in this portion tapping away, not understanding what's happening. This is exactly kind of what we're going to be talking about at the conference. We have amazing speakers coming in from all over. Our keynote speakers, Dr. Dina Dye. If you haven't had a chance to her teachings, oh my goodness, you're going to love it. It's going to be super fun, and she's going to dig deep. She's going to be, I thought she was going to dig into the tabernacle, and she said, well, but she's, it'll be exciting to hear from all of our speakers. So we're, we're going to kind of give you guys today like a Facebook view, huh, Brenda? Facebook. Let me give you the Facebook view.
Let's give you the Facebook view.
Yeah, Brenda's going to let you guys in, be doing that part. I'm just going to give you a Facebook view. I want you to imagine you're sitting on your Facebook, for those of you who have Facebook. And hello, everyone on the replay, and hello, everyone in podcast and all the ways.
All the ways. Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, I wrote on my phone this morning. I wrote on my phone like a to-do list to create a document of all the things, all the ways and all the things. So I could just put it out there and you guys can be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do this. Okay, so imagine that you're on your Facebook page and you're just like, gosh, just like the election year, it's pretty much that's kind of what happened. It's like you're looking on, you're like, these people are crazy. Look at all these. So you're Korach, okay? And you're sitting and you're just on your Facebook page and you're looking on Reuben's family, right? You have the Reubenites. You're looking at all of his family, and they got passed over. Judah got picked. Judah got blessed over him, got looked over. You're looking over at you're looking on your Facebook feed and you're seeing all of Reuben's family just just gripey. They got passed over, they're mad. And then you look over and you see the Levites page, and they're just talking about all these great blessings that are happening in their lives, all these cool new jobs they just got a promotion. Oh, look at the new house they got. Oh, look at my new garment. Look at my new outfits that I got. They're posting all the highlight reels, right? And you're looking on your Facebook page and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I was a Levite. They shouldn't be. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to, this should be my job. This should be me. Look at my life. I'm like, okay. So do you guys see it? Do you guys see it right now? Yeah. Do you see that's what's happening here?
Yep.
I mean, like we could get super deep on this, but you guys know that would be Brenda and I trying to be Korach. That's not who we are. We are let's bring it into your lives. Let's pull it in right where you are. And we highly recommend that if you need to stand in front of a water hose and or fire hydrant and you want to learn like everything, we highly recommend signing up for Halisa's like weekly training. I think it's only $10 a month, and you can be in her class and like have the fire hose hit you, and you can learn all the
That's a good
like
way
things.
of putting it, Charlie.
And I think it's great because we're in there and you can
We're in
stand
there.
next to us and we can all hand towels around and be like, oh, well, what did she even say? I don't even know what she said.
Yeah.
But today on Fridays,
Yeah.
Brenda and I get to stay in our lane.
Yep.
And our lane is to bring the portion in a practical way to you so that you can actually apply it to your life. A practical way, right, Bren?
Yes, exactly. You know, that's what this is, the Torah study that we do here. That's what this is. Just let's just live this out. How do we apply this to our lives? How is the Torah applicable today in our everyday life? I mean, to me, that's what, Charlie, that's what we started out doing, and I think that we need to continue doing that. It doesn't mean that we won't get deep sometimes. It doesn't mean that we won't, have a whole bunch of other things that we bring in sometimes, but we want to always return to how do we live this out in our everyday lives, and that's what we do around the kitchen table.
Yes. And if we're sitting around, I want you to grab your favorite little drink. I have my coffee. I already finished my matcha. I want you to think that we're just sitting around talking, because that's really how we all started. It was just to sit around and do this. Now, the reason we're telling you this, like recapping on who we are, is because there was a season, right, Brenda, where we thought, oh, we're comparing ourselves. I mean, can you imagine?
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the reels up here, the people in this alone. I know Misty. I see Simi. I'm looking through Linda. Oh my gosh. I'm looking all you women. I'm not going to do this. I can go through all you women and be like, intimidated. And we think, oh, we need to take it up a level. We need to conjugate some Hebrew stuff, and we need to get deep. And we started to do that for a little while, huh, Bren? Can you imagine? We're like it was deep, all right, but I'm not sure what was deep of. But
it was Fisher Price deep.
It was, But I'm just saying, we felt there was a season, there was a time when you and I both felt a little intimidated. I mean, it was not that long ago. We're given, just last year, when we're like, wow, we're just a bunch of friends around our kitchen table via Zoom. And now there's women showing up who know way more than us. What are we how are we going to do that? Like we got to step it up. We're very intimidating. So it's easy. We can see as we were going through this together, how easy it is for us to get intimidated and to compare, right?
Right.
Comparing.
Exactly.
Oh Lord,
for sure. Not that anybody else has ever done that, but I'll just be the first one to throw myself on the flames, because, I am. And by the way, can I just say real quick, Sarita, your van is fabulous. Congratulations, sister. I love it. She's joining us via van.
Love it. Brenda, there was a season, we've gone through, and I've been like, gosh, I wish I was more like Brenda. She's so like easygoing, and she's, she can come off. So she has such a more of a pastor's heart. And I just wish I was softer like her. And I wish I was as smart as her. And I knew more about like the Hebrew alphabet. I wish I had the way she studies. I wish I knew this better. And I wished I would sit there spending a lot of time wishing I was wishing all over myself, be like, oh, I wish I was more like that. And we've talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Back and forth. I mean, you're like, oh, I wish I could do this.
I wish I could do things like you, Charlie. I wish that I had the intelligence that you have, the brain that you have, your ability to multitask like you do. I mean, girl, you are a phenom. And you're intimidating, and you're my best friend, and you intimidate me. So come on.
This is funny. So the reason we're saying all this to you is because we want you to know you're not alone. Even
not alone.
You think people, there's so many. I mean, I've talked to women who would shock me, and they're saying, gosh, I wish I was more like so-and-so. I don't know one woman who isn't like that. They're wishing they were like someone else. I wish I dressed like her. I wish. And we live in a society on Instagram and all the social media outlets. It used to be, Brenda, we used to just compare each other looking at a magazine, and that was bad enough. And we could say, well, that was we're looking at these models and we could kind of say, well,
Right.
that's a model, so I'm not her. But
Mhm.
now we're seeing everybody's
No.
highlight reels on all
Right.
social media, and we're like, oh, my house doesn't look that good. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's seriously, did I do a tour of my RV? Do you think my RV has a charcuterie board out every day? Of
I thought
course I
it
did the
did.
of course I did the video that day because I had people coming over and I had a charcuterie board out for them to come in and like, no, if you saw my house this morning, the bed's not even made. Okay, let's just be, this is what's happening. Like, just know that we can't judge someone else's highlight reels by our
No.
house. Most of
No.
the time I have an artificial background, right? When I'm in meetings, I'll have I have a different kind of a background. We have the fake little, what do you call it? Virtual backgrounds. We call it virtual now, not fake. Virtual. Usually
Right.
have a virtual. This
Virtual.
is real today, but I have a virtual background. And so people are like, oh, she's got beautiful offices. Or, oh, remember Brenda, when you had that house one, everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
your home is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I wish I had a house like that. She's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Now this is real. This is real. But this is like a 2 foot by 3 foot. I'm cramped into a little 2 foot by 3 foot. So, it's not a big old huge office. It's like my knees. Hello, this is my knee.
Just
So
we just want to
we just
go
want to
into
be
this.
real.
Yeah. We
That's
just
the
want to be
thing.
super real. And
We
what's
just want to be
happening?
real.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we have Korach. Okay.
Oh man, I love this. I know that it's a hard one, and I
It's a
know
hard
that we
one.
always have to kind of like, we know we're coming into it because you can feel it happening on the inside, but I actually really love this Torah portion, guys, because this is where real life, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It
This
really
is
is.
this is really good.
Well, we just come off of, you would think, I mean, I remember thinking this over and over, we can say it 100 times. You would have thought they would have learned their lesson watching what happened to Miriam, because this example was already set for them. When you rise up and when you are complaining,
Yeah.
Lashon Hara, right? When you're
Right.
complaining against who they complain, then Miriam gets gets leprosy, she gets sent. And what's the whole thing about leprosy? This is just the stuff that's on the inside coming out on the outside. That's really all it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah. It's not really, like we call it leprosy in English, but it's not common day leprosy. It's not the same thing. It was more, the leprosy that they're talking about in the Old Testament is more like a psoriasis. Isn't that funny? That's what the sages say. It's
Which
like a
makes sense.
psoriasis.
That
It's
makes
a
sense
it's
because of
it's a breaking
Korach's
of the
name.
skin. Hmm.
Yeah, Korach's name,
Exactly.
because Korach's name was about a baldness or like a shiny white place. I mean, you can look at his name. We're not going to
Exactly.
dig in. We recommend you go. We have a free blue letter Bible for not so dummies to learn how to
Yeah.
look all that up. But if you
Yeah.
look at his name, basically his name is exactly how they describe
Yeah.
what would, the scaly bald places on their bodies
Right.
when something would erupt, and they were
Right.
supposed to notice it. And if when it erupted, they were supposed to self-identify it. And then they were supposed to come and they were supposed to spend time outside the camp until they worked it out. And then they got clean, and then they could come back in when they got rid of it. Right. Well,
Right.
here we have a man representing the white Korach. His name means like bald places, shiny white places, all the symptoms of
Hmm.
Tazarat, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And pardon me. And I was mentioning pardon me, I was mentioning to Charlie, and I'm sure that you guys already caught this, but the very thing that leads us into right prior to moving into the story of Korach is, when the Holy One tells the entire assembly, all of the people, every one of them, no matter what their status is, no matter who they are, every single one of them, he tells them to make zitziot, which is zitzit, plural, and put it on the corners of their garments, and put a blue thread in it. And why? It is to be zitzit for you to look at and thereby remember all of Adonai's mitzvot and obey them. Why? So that you won't go around wherever your own heart and eyes lead you to prostitute yourselves, but it will help you remember and obey all of the mitzvot and to be holy for your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt in order to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. This is a statement that the Holy One makes at the end of last week's Torah portion. It is the thing that is resounding in our ears as we move into this portion with Korach.
Mm.
And can I just say, I'm putting my name there. Feel
Charlie,
free.
please. My name is
Oh, feel
already. It's
free.
not Korach. This is. We're
Yeah,
going to change the
yeah,
parsha. It's
yeah. It's
Charlie.
gonna,
The parsha's name is Charlie. Brenda Charlie. Charlie Brenda. That's the name
that's
of the
right.
parsha.
Really, because this is all of us when we step away from doing the last thing that he told us to do, which was to be reminded that he is Adonai, our God, and we are to follow and obey him. And he is to be what fills our eyes and what fills our vision, not what everybody else is doing, how everybody else is gaining, how everybody else has something better, something more, something that we haven't gotten yet. Comparing, it is the very thing that sets us up. And it's when we are not doing that that we're able to look at somebody else and say, well, how come she has that and I don't?
Yeah.
I love God too.
Yeah.
I hear from God too. Why can't I do it like her? Why is it just always Brenda and Charlie? Why haven't they invited me to be on there? I mean, really. And
I mean, when you were gone, it's there's so many levels to this, Brenda. It's like we have to know there's so much happening behind the scenes, and if you truly trust, and this whole thing wasn't about just about them, the flesh part of this is really a different. They're saying, God, you aren't powerful enough to know who you're assigning, and we don't trust you. Because even they come back and I wrote a note down, they reverse the promise of Canaan in 1613. They reverse the promises of Canaan, speaking the same thing over Egypt, saying it's the land flowing with milk and honey. And like you said, Korach comes walking in here with a bunch of men. He separates himself. That's the first thing. He separates himself. He doesn't separate himself and go to Moses and say, hey, I have a question for you. My feelings are a little hurt. Now I know I know all my guys. I know my peeps here. I know that we have a very important job. We don't have to deal with ox. We don't have to deal with that. We are actually so important that everything we touch is so important. We have to carry it by poles. We're taking care of the ark, the showbread table, the lampstands, the altars. I know that he had the most important job of the Levitical work, right? Next to, they were the next ones down. So it wasn't like they were the ones who had to clean up the poop after, or the cleanup around the altar. There's some pretty icky jobs that had to happen. Those guys weren't the ones that revolted and said, I don't want to do this. It was the guy second in command. It was this is the next notch right under Aaron, really, under his sons. This is the next notch. And he's looking around and he's like, I don't want to be second. Second is first loser. I don't want to be second. I wasn't picked. I should have been picked at first because I'm gifted and I'm talented and I have a birthright.
Yeah. He did have a birthright. And that's the thing, Charlie, is that we know that he actually did have a legitimate claim if he was going to be, if he replaced Adonai's wisdom. If he could say that his wisdom was better than Adonai's wisdom, then he did have a legitimate claim.
I think it's interesting that you have an ancient Near Easter, at that time, and even now we'll have like the firstborn son. The firstborn was always the one who was given the blessings, the rights. They had the right to the thing. There was an anointing on them. It's interesting that Adonai disrupts that multiple times before we even get to this place right now. They should have already, their history should know. Oh, wait. Judah was picked. Oh, wait. Let's start from the beginning, right? We
think about Gideon. I'm the smallest of the small. I'm the least of the least. I'm the least of the. Oh my gosh! Don't pick me. I'm the least of the least.
King David. He was the youngest and the least of all of them. He wasn't the biggest, strongest of all of them.
He couldn't even carry the armor. He couldn't even be defended because he was so little. He couldn't even carry the armor.
I have to tell you, I realize he's kind of shown me that the people who have, including myself, if you think there's something you're so gifted in and you have a right to do, the minute you think you have a right or you're privileged, this is
Lord, help me.
This is how fascism started and socialism started. And this is how, when you see the rise of kingdoms, it's always about, well, we're going to do this as like, think of socialism. We're going to do this as a whole where everybody's equal. So nobody's set apart, but there's always someone set apart. That's always going to happen. And when we look at everything in the word, there is nothing that's like, we want to say equality. We live in a democracy. I mean, I have my note, I'm like, we live in a democracy. So it's very difficult for our brains to not think democracy, teamwork, unity, all the same. It's really difficult for us not to be in that position. But what we have to understand is when we submit ourselves to the Holy One and we read the word, we don't see that.
Yeah.
He anoints people to serve in certain positions. He anoints things to happen that make no sense most of the time.
Yeah.
Someone is always in charge and other people are not. Someone, but like when Brenda and I were talking, there's parts that not everyone is equal, but everything's equally important.
Yes.
Should I say that again?
Say that again.
Not everything is equal, but everyone is equally important. Everyone is equally important.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
absolutely
our bodies, right? My face, my mouth gets the most airtime, gets the most for the world to see. Maybe it's my face, maybe you have beautiful eyes and that's whatever. I mean, Brenda has beautiful blue eyes. Everyone sees her eyes. Our faces, our heads are what get the biggest thing, but no, and it's not equal to everything else as far as what is what people see or what's used the most. However, behind the scenes that no one's seeing are my mitochondria, these tiny little things in my body. Nobody sees them, and they are working away to build energy and to replace things and to do things.
Yes.
It's hard, guys. This is hard.
Yeah.
This is hard.
And I love that, Charlie, that, I was telling Charlie before we started today, I just love that this is her jam. Like, she sees everything scientifically. I don't have that. Sorry. I hope I haven't blown your minds. I'm so sorry. I don't have that. She sees everything scientifically. She sees how things work. She sees like the mechanics of things. And that's why she's so good at doing so many, many things. And that is her gift, and that's what she gives. But did you hear her earlier saying, there's times when I look at this or that and I'm thinking, wow, I can't do that. I don't have that. It's all of us, guys. It's all of us. And I think what's happening here is the Holy One is telling us that we need to keep our eyes on him, and we need to find our value in him and not find our value in the comparison that we have with other people. Because it's not that we don't look like, I look at Charlie and I admire her gifts. I love her gifts. I am so thankful for how God uses her and who she is, as I am with all of you guys. Really, truly, you all impress me, every one of you. But the thing is that if I compare myself to Charlie, I'm always going to come up short, because I don't compare to her with her giftings, because I don't have those. And I don't want anyone thinking that, that my goal is to become like her. Although it wouldn't be a bad thing, but that she would rub off on me a little bit would be kind of nice.
Yeah, we all feel that way, right?
I know we all feel that way about you, Charlie. But the thing is, come on, guys, the truth is that each and every one of us is a piece of the same fitly joined together. It's like when my mom, I told you the story about when my mom was getting ready to pass, and she was watching the workmen. Her stones were being fit together in heaven. And as they were laying her stones, they were all being fit together perfectly. But not all of her stones were there yet. So her path had not been completed. And so what happened was, the workmen were working, putting them all together, laying them all out, but there were still things to be done. I don't have any idea where that was going. I have completely
we can't
lost
see
my
behind
train
the
of thought.
scenes. We can't see behind
There
the
you
scenes.
go.
Let's
Thank
do that.
you.
Let's say we can't see behind the scenes. And it wasn't this whole thing with Korach wasn't that
Was
it wasn't okay for him not to ask what was going on, or for his feelings to be hurt, or him to feel left out. No one is saying that was the issue, because there's times, there's a lot of times that I feel left out. There's a lot of times I'm thinking no one invited
yeah,
me, or no one asked
yeah,
me if I went, or did they even care? There's those times.
right,
Or there's other times,
right.
and I'm going to be honest, that I'm thinking I'm more qualified.
Mhm.
I've been passed over for jobs that I thought, I cannot believe they didn't pick me. Like,
Yeah.
are they new? Have they not?
Yeah.
Don't they know who I
Do
am?
they not know who I am?
Well, remember, I've told you guys a story of, I took a receptionist job when I was when I was an evangelist, and I remember and we were pastoring a church, and to help pay some of the church bills, I took a job as a receptionist through a temp agency. And I'm traveling, and I have recordings, and think I'm so smart and great. And I'm sitting at this desk answering the telephone, and people are coming by throwing mail at me. And I got one point, I got super offended. I got super offended, and I was like, they're all treating me like I'm like the receptionist or something around here. I was like, oh wait, I am. There has been some crazy times. There's also been times, Brenda, like it wasn't that long ago. There's times when it hasn't been that long ago, when I was going through my divorce and everything had fallen apart. And I thought, gosh, I was so upset with God, because I was like, I've given you my whole life. I've done this, this, and this, and this, and this for you. I don't deserve this. Let's just be clear. I never want to get what I want to deserve. I never want to get what I deserve. But I'm like, I deserve to have this, and I deserve to do this. I have done all these things for you, God. And here my husband just acts like a crazy person and takes off with some other woman. And then at the same time, I'm watching friends and family be elevated. I'm watching them, like their ministries flourishing and them like excelling. And I'm watching their marriages, and I'm watching all these beautiful things. I was mad. And
Right.
I was like, God, this isn't fair. I don't want, you guys all know, I've said it over and over. It's not fair. This is not, I don't deserve this. So I can really relate to this. I feel like, but it's about not what he said, but it was how he went about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brenda, he came here, we just came off of those Zeet saying the blue thread, and here he shows up, and you can read the sages, them say that he showed up
The
with
wise guys. Sorry.
the wise guys. The wise guys. He showed up with these 250 men, and they were all wearing solid blue robes of that thread, that blue expensive. So not just a Zeet. They were literally, they were shown. This is, again, the sages say this in whatever, that they showed up to outshine not only did they just show up, but they showed out.
Yeah. They were showing off.
They were showing off. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were out of order.
Yeah.
Because they weren't wearing Zeet. They were wearing blue. So they didn't have to wear Zeet, according to them. According to that. But the thing was, they weren't following the ways of Adonai, and their eyes weren't on Adonai. He said, he says it 3 times, 4 times. How many times did he say it? He said, I am Adonai. It's like, hey, pay attention. Look up here. That's what I see. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think the same thing. Yeah.
Hey, pay attention. Look at me. I am Adonai, who brought you out of the land of Egypt in order to be your God. I am Adonai. In other words, get your eyes on me. And when your eyes are on me, you're going to be so delighted by what I do for you. So that's the thing, Charlie, right? It's like, why are we spending so much time being unsatisfied looking at other people, when in all reality, he has gifted each and every one of us with unique talents, uniqueness, personality, characteristics, abilities, all of the things that make us unique. And we should be delighting and thankful to him for that very thing. And so what happens is, when we get our eyes off of that, we're saying that God's not good enough. We're saying that he made a mistake, that he doesn't know how to run things, and it would be better for him. This is just a repeat. Can we talk about the repeat, that this is just a repeat of everything that they just left in Egypt?
Yes. Yes.
And he even, like Moses even does the whole miraculous, well, don't let it be a natural death, because if it's a natural death, people will say, well, he just died. He just died of natural causes. It had to be something supernatural, just like in Egypt. The 10 plagues had to be completely supernatural so that no one could say that it was not the hand of God.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what happens here with Korach. So
we have some questions, a couple things I'm just happened to notice over here. Carol
please.
making a comment about the zeet seats, and we didn't go into those last week. And I
Mhm.
honestly think that this is super personal. One of those things that it's not a hill we're going to die on.
Yeah.
First of all, I want you to know that the zeet seats back then, they were on a four-cornered garment. Okay, they were not, I'm going to say it, they weren't necessarily tied to the belt loops of your pants. Now, it doesn't mean that that's not okay, but I'm just saying they were part of a garment that was worn, that was a four-cornered garment that was worn under their clothes. And even Yeshua said that, you have these people that they're making their zeet seats too long so that people could see them. Because I think the whole heart, I want you to just, with everything, we're going to say this. What's your heart in this? Are you wanting to wear
Right.
zeet seats so people notice who you are? So they, are you wearing zeet seats? What is the reason you're doing it? And you have to have it truly, you need to let the Holy One really talk you through that. So I'll say, oops, I accidentally hit the wrong thing. Sorry, Miss Brenda. I'll
That's
say
okay.
this, you may consider, if you're wearing zeet seat, that you actually just tuck them in. You tuck them in. If it's, the whole point is to be a reminder of who he is and whose you are and the commandments that you're to walk through. It is not so people go, oh, what are those hanging on your belts? Whoa, what is this? Oh, what are you? It's none of those reasons. Oh, you have a cuter one than me. If just examine your heart, because that's all that matters. That's all. I kind of want to leave that there. I heard hyperlinks while you were talking, Brenda. I heard a hyperlink of, if my eye offends me, I'm supposed to pluck it out.
Mm-hmm. Which is, by the way, an idiom. Please don't be
Hebrew
plucking
idiom.
your eyeball out.
Don't pluck out your eyeballs.
No eyeball plucking.
Check in a couple days. You will, on Monday, you can check the Ruta Cafe store, and Gail's idiom course. It will be available to anybody who wants to purchase it. It'll be in there. She has an amazing course on Hebrew idioms and goes through a ton of them. And one of them is plucking your eyeball out. Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing this, like, if we see things, and that's where it starts. Well, that's what's going on there. And remember, we don't know what's behind the scenes. We don't know what the Father has told. I don't know. I remember working in a church, and I remember the pastor picking this other lady to do something. And I was like, wait a minute. And I didn't know all the behind the scenes on why he picked her. First of all, I didn't know about his prayer life, and the Holy One had told her, I'm going to question everything because I'm more qualified. I should be like this. Or my friend was more qualified. Or I'm thinking, why didn't she pick her? And I'm trying to make stand up for my friend. What I find is that we don't know behind the scenes. We just don't know. Brenda, we talked about this, huh? Mm-hmm. Before we talked about not knowing behind the scenes.
Right. We think, we see only, like you were talking about with the Facebook thing, we only see a tiny excerpt here and a tiny excerpt there of the very best of the best, or the very worst of the worst. We don't actually see what's going on and what's happening. And so we draw conclusions faulty, and it's kind of like with what the Holy One is telling people here prior to the whole Korach incident. And I don't want to beat this like a dead horse, but wait, there's another idiom. But it's really, it's really about keeping our eyes and keeping our focus on what's important and not allowing distractions to take us off course. So you'll hear Charlie and I talk a lot about staying in your lane. We really want to encourage each and every one of you with all of the amazing gifts and talents that you have. And we completely acknowledge, Charlie and I both do, and completely acknowledge, there are many of you who are far more trained, more, smarter, have had more teaching, understanding, et cetera, than us. And we love that, and we're fabulous with that. And we honor and admire every one of you, no matter where you are. We also know that there are some of you that are just brand new, and you're kind of going like, what? I don't even know what that word means. And that's okay too. We're all here together. That's what this roundtable kitchen table thing is that we're doing right here. We're all together, and in that we are all equal. But how God uses us is going to be unique and different for each and every one of us, and that's what we have to gird ourselves up to not bring comparisons about. Okay, you can look at other people and see things that are in them, like Pietra was saying that she asked the Holy One to give her compassion like Brenda, and she said, I cried for 2 weeks and I asked him to take some of it back.
Be
Sister,
careful
I
what
love you
you
for that.
pray for, because you just
That's
might
right.
get it, right?
That's right. And all I can say is, if you're going to do that, invest in waterproof mascara. That's all I can say. You have to
Yeah.
invest. But
But I'm hearing a
thing is,
sovereignty. Do you hear the
yes,
sovereignty in all of this?
yes.
I
Oh,
hear the
God
bottom
is
line
so
of all of
good.
this.
Yeah,
We said it last week. The whole
yeah.
thing about the spies was that they were questioning God's sovereignty,
His
that
sovereignty.
he
Mhm.
was not sovereign to give them the land. Now they're saying you're not sovereign to designate the positions, because here's the thing. He says that if we humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord, he will lift us up.
Yeah.
In our due season. He said he'll bring us before kings. Our talents and our gifts are without repentance. He if I promise you, if you were supposed to do the fill in the blank, you
Mhm.
would be doing it.
Right.
Because it would be no person, no boss, no ministry leader, no anybody who could keep it from happening if you were supposed to have it happen. I promise you. If I don't care what it is, I don't even want to give examples. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
you have to, if you truly trust the sovereignty of our King,
Yeah.
then you know that your gifts, who you are, what's supposed to happen, when you're thinking this should have been me, if it should have been you, it would have been you.
Mhm.
No devil in hell, no person on this planet could hold back. If your King is sovereign and he says, I want you in this place right now, I promise you, if you trust his sovereignty, this whole Parsha is about a group of people who got confused in the sovereignty, because they already said we should go back to this. Let's go back to Egypt again, because they were saying that was better. But we do it. It would be better if we did it this way. Wouldn't it be better? And we say, oh, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to give my input. It would just be better if we did this. And not once do we say, can you, again, we could ask a question. I should have gone to my pastor and said, can I ask you a question? I have to be honest. My feelings are hurt and I'm working out something with the Holy One. But can I just ask what your decision-making process is so I can understand and learn from that as a leader or as a person? What do you go through in making this specific decision? And then he would have said, I fasted and prayed for days, and this is what the Holy One told me. But most of us never ask that question. We go straight to where we were hurt and where we were offended, and we start making decisions, and we start going off on our instead of just stopping and asking the person, tell me what the Holy One told you when you were made this choice. I want in on it. I want in on your process.
Right.
And then we would be honoring the sovereignty of our King.
Yes. Agreed. And and what we see here is what I love about this. If we can move forward a little bit in this, what I love is that when when Moses and Aaron hear the complaining and the grumbling of the people, what is the very first thing that they do? They fall on their faces. Did anybody else fall on their faces? Were Korach's people, his 250 leaders, tribal leaders, were those 250 tribal leaders, were they falling on their faces? No, they weren't. They were standing. They were standing and saying, pay attention, look at us. But Aaron and Moses fell on their faces before Adonai and cried out to him. And talk about seeing Messiah Yeshua in the Old Testament. I mean, come on, guys. When we see Aaron and what Aaron does in the next chapter, when we see Aaron running into the midst of death and dying, contaminating himself, contaminating himself, becoming unclean in order to run into the plague and stop the plague, sacrificing himself that way. That is what Yeshua did. And and so that these are the things that we're not seeing other people doing that. We're seeing the ones that God chose. Why did he choose them? Why? Well, it wasn't an easy requirement of them. It wasn't that they just got la 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 la, I'm in charge, yay yay yay, I'm the big guy, I'm the big kahuna. Yeah, leadership isn't always what we think. Being in the forefront is not always what we think. It's not always as good as we may think it is, because there's a lot that comes with it. And those are the things that God has to work out in every single person as they are put in the front. Because it's like, if teachers, we know that, if you're teaching something, you are held to a higher standard by God. When you're teaching something to someone, you're being held accountable. It's not just that you get the information, it's that you're being held accountable. You have to actually live that out. And that's what was happening. And we're seeing that with Aaron and with Moses, how they are living this out. They are willing to sacrifice themselves in the midst of it all. And I just thought that was such a precious insight that we don't actually get to see often with leadership. It was such a precious insight to see how their response was to this affront to God, not to them. I mean, it was on a minor level, it was an affront to them, but on a major level, it was an affront to God's sovereignty.
Yes.
I love how you brought that out, Charlie.
I think for me, I know one of my heart's cries, especially lately, has been, Father, how do I develop better leadership skills? How do I be a better leader? How do I do these things? And I do skill development in this area with, I usually try to choose faith-based other secular people. I say secular, but John Maxwell, I'll just say, I seek his with books or with whatever to try to learn things, and I pray. And then I get to this section, this week, and as I was studying it out earlier this week, I was like, Father, like, here's the perfect leadership training. What do you do as a leader?
Yeah. Which is what you do, which is
you
why we
fall
love
on your
you
face.
as a leader. You fall on your
face.
Yeah.
And you plead that God forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
We have that example. We see Yeshua hyperlink this with what Moses falls on his face and says, don't kill him, forgive them.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. Just don't kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then second of all, we see Aaron right in the middle of everybody. Yeah. He said, just in between death and life, he runs in between the two of them. If you're a leader and you're praying for how do you to be a better leader, this is the best leadership development I can give you right here, is because you see, we have Moshe, we have Aaron, we can look at Yeshua, we look at him. He picked people. It wasn't all equal. He had 12 disciples. He didn't have 4,000 disciples. He had to pick 12. There were some he had to pick that were set apart. There's people who are set apart and people who are set apart in a different way. He picked a few of those 12 that got to go on special missions with him, who got to go to Transfiguration with him. We see Moses look at Joshua, went up to the mountain with him. I mean, we see that happening. And it's so easy for us to look and say, well, that's not fair. Why didn't they pick me? I'm just as good, or I want them to pick everyone, or whatever. When we see that, our heart is sometimes in the right place. It's not about just ourselves. It's about a holistic approach. But we have to trust the sovereignty of God. And if you are a leader, I just pray that this would be such a great leadership example for you to see, that you just fall on your face. That's the first thing you do. Yeah. We see that in Chronicles, when the enemy's coming in from all different directions, we see them fall on their face and start worshiping.
Exactly.
That's what leaders do.
Yeah.
They fall on their face. And so if you're questioning a leader in your work, in your ministries, if you're in a fellowship, I highly recommend go to them and ask them, can you talk to me about how do you walk through your decisions? Because you don't know, they made a decision today that all you see with your eyes is one thing, and you now have a offense or something because a question about it. which is perfectly good. You know, again, it was okay that Korach had a question. It was not what he said, but it was how he went about it, right? You can come about it by go to your leader, go to that person, because you don't know what they were doing the last 3 months. You don't know the dragons they had to slay. You don't know the demons that they had to fight. You don't know what they had to go through to get to that place. And all you're seeing is right now.
Yeah.
That's all you see.
Yeah. That's very true. I love that. Yeah. And modeling ourselves after the leadership here, our first response should be to fall on our faces. You know, our first response shouldn't be what we see with our eyes or hear with our ears, because that's what the word said to us just prior to this occurrence, so that you won't prostitute yourselves by running after what you see with your eyes or hear with your ears. And that's what we hear things. Oh, so-and-so said something, so-and-so said da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden we turn our gaze to that thing and we follow after it. Well, I'm going to find out what really, how about if we fall on our faces like these leaders did? That's what they did. They fell on their faces before God when they were confronted with a mob, an angry mob.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, how dare you? They didn't say that. They fell on their faces. And then they got a download from God and they acted on it.
They didn't run around trying to grab a team to come against him. He didn't go around. Moses didn't run around trying to get people on their side and trying to build. He's going to go get his own 250 men and come up against him and go, well, okay, let's go. Lena, who's qualified? He didn't do that. He didn't run. What he did is he went to the throne and not the phone, right? That's what he did. And it's hard.
It's a good one. He went to the throne, not the phone.
You know, because they had those back then. Last week, Brenda, you brought up something that I had shared with you, and I'm gonna bring it up again. And it's the Hebrew Strong's number H7711. The word in Hebrew is okay. I'll get really fancy. The indefinite word blah, 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 is should have phone, should have. Mm-hmm. So the word sort of sounds like the word should have. And I had read an article from a rabbi, was in a teaching from a rabbi about how that word sounds kind of like should have. And it was interesting because I went back to it. It was very interesting to me that as I researched that word out, is that it blights out the crops. It blights out the crops. It kills the opportunity of fruitfulness. It was one of the curses that, you know, when we're grumbling and complaining and things, what happens is these certain, there was like, what is it? 99 curses. I don't know that I had the right number last week. There's a bunch of curses, and this is just one of them. And one of them is the name of this wind. And this wind is the shiddaphone or sheddaphone wind. And it will actually blight out the crops. It will actually, they won't be fruitful anymore. And I just thought this is a really good time again where we think it should be this way. It should be this way. It should have done this way. I should have done this. I should have gotten that. He should have gotten that. We should have. This is how it should have been done. What you're saying is, I know better.
Right.
I know more. And it's okay to say, oh, I have a good idea. Can I share it with you? That's one way. It's another way when you're like, well, it should be like this. It should be more like this. It should be, it's a whole different spirit. And that spirit doesn't bring fruitfulness. That spirit brings division. That spirit brings, there's no fruitfulness. I'm just going to leave that. It unfortunately blights everything out. Whereas if Korach came to Moshe and said, gosh, I'm sitting here and it's really hard for me. Can I be honest? I'm watching Reuben over here, passed over. I'm watching them. They're grumbling, complaining. Then I look over here and I'm watching the rest of he's right next to their camp. Their camps he was like right in the middle of Reuben and Moshe and Aaron. And he goes, I'm watching you guys. I'm thinking that should have been me. Yep. It should have been them. It should have been me. There's a lot of should haves happening here. And his eyes started comparing the should haves. We beat this up already. But if he had just went to him and said, I'm struggling. Can you help me process this out? Because here's where my struggle is. I'm watching all this go on, and this is what I'm seeing. And I have a couple good ideas. Can I just share them with you? You know, and that's not what happened. And I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you from this, from a leadership point of view, coming to your leaders, because if you have a good leader, they should listen to your ideas and want to embrace them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's very good. I
new
love that. I'll for those of you geekies who want to chase that down, let me give you the scripture. I'll give you a scripture, Deuteronomy 28:22. It's the word in Deuteronomy 28:22. It's the word in English that's blasting. And that word is Hebrew. It's H7711 in your Strongs or in your lexicon. And it is Sheen, Dalet, Fay, Hay, and it's pronounced should've. And I just love it because, Charlie, what you're saying about that is that even we, without even recognizing it, what we're doing is pronouncing a curse on everything, even when we don't recognize it, the words that we're saying are a curse. I should have, they should have, he should have, you should have. We are pronouncing a curse. We are bringing forth a blast of destruction. We're bringing forth a wind, because what we're not doing when we're saying that you should have done that, what we're not doing is bringing forth life.
And we're not recognizing sovereignty.
No, we're not. And we are not speaking life or liberty, freedom, health, wholeness, shalom. We're not speaking that when we're saying you should have done this. So how we go about living our life, this whole Torah portion is about, it's the correction that needs to be made. If you want to be the nation, the people of God, because that's what he's called us to be, right? We're in the middle of the wilderness, guys. We're in the middle of the wilderness. The tabernacle's been built. We're in the middle of the wilderness. We're walking through it. We have a lot to learn before we can move into the promised land. We have to become the people of God. Segulah, the special set apart people of God. This is the training ground. We're in boot camp right now, here in the wilderness, in this Torah portion. So we cannot take any of this for granted. It is all valuable. Yeah. This is how we walk. And it wasn't just for them back then. It wasn't just those people. They didn't get it. Are you kidding me? Put your name in there. It's like, put my name in there. This is real life. This is how we walk it out in everyday life. This is how we live successful, abundant life. His word is alive and living. And when we apply it, when we say, Father, show us how to walk in your ways, what happens is life and liberty and health and wellness. Hard times, absolutely. Difficult times, has to be. There has to be the push and the pull and the strain. That's how we grow. That's all part of it. But the thing is that in the midst of all of it, there can be a place of shalom, even in the midst of the hardships, even in the midst of the hardest things of all, if we will keep our eyes on Adonai and on who is sovereign. And he keeps telling us over and over, go back. He says, and the word of the Lord said, via Debar Adonai, and the word of the Lord said. This is not somebody's idea. This is not somebody's philosophy that they popped up with. This is the words of God himself. These are the words breathed forth from the mouth of God, who creates you, who keeps you alive, who keeps that spark of divinity within you burning. These are the words of God Almighty. And he's saying, this is what I want you to say to the people, Moses, because Moses was the mouthpiece, because Aaron was the feet. Aaron was the feet. Aaron's the one running through the camp. When you see Aaron, you see Messiah, Yeshua. Look past Aaron, look past his face, look past his clothes, look into the heavenly realm.
The anointing.
He's doing exactly what is happening in the heavens. And what's happening in the heavens is that your advocate is running into the midst of the death to save you, to keep you. And that's what Aaron did. So yeah, you want a leadership course, Charlie? Bam.
Right?
Let's go. You might not have a big draw
Be
once
careful.
everybody realizes that they have to actually walk it out.
Exactly. No one's going to like that one. I keep hearing in my heart, I keep hearing this little song, be careful, little eyes, what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see.
Mm-hmm.
For the Father up above is looking down in love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see. Do you guys remember that song when you're little?
And then do the ears.
Yes, all the things. But we're talking about these things. What are you looking at? Are your eyes on him? Are your eyes on his sovereignty? Are your eyes on, Father, I know you have a plan and I know there's a reason for this. I know that no one forgot about me. I know that you never forget about me. And that if I'm supposed to be somewhere, if the most important thing is if you're lifted up, because you're going to draw all men, that's what's the most, I don't need to be lifted up, but if you're lifted up, I don't need to have, I struggled this week. I'm like, this is private, but we're on recording. I struggled because one of the things we have a struggle with during the season of a conference is that we don't get a lot of people who are, who answer their emails, that they get into spam and they can't find their email and then they can't find their web address. I sought counsel from several professionals who this is their specialty. And every single person told me I needed to change our email so that it looked like it was coming from me and our person, but me, that it was had a name. That way they were like, oh, it's an email from Charlie. And so they would open it and they would get their information, and we're not spamming anybody. We just wanted them to get the link to their webinar. We want them to open it to see what's happening and not miss something. It's not a spamming thing. So this month, it was really difficult for me to change our email address from info@therootedcafe in our email platform. Not, you can still email them, but the ones we're sending out, the reply, the sending email is my email address. It's just Charlie@therootedcafe, so that it would get opened. That was very difficult for me because I didn't want it. I feel like, well, it's not about me. It's about a team. The problem is no one opens the email when it comes from an info because it looks like spam. So there's things that we have to trust the process in. We have to trust. Maybe you guys thought like, wow, my whole thought was people are going to see this and be like, oh, Charlie probably thinks, whoa. I mean, I spent some time on the floor on that one, but here's good. Yeah, I have no idea. You have no idea.
She has rug burns all over her entire face.
Yeah. I have no idea. Oh, what's the point? I don't know. But what happens is I can't look at what I'm seeing. I can't look at it.
Don't gauge it with your eyes. Don't gauge it with your ears.
I can't gauge it by this email. I have to understand that there's a process that I obviously don't know about. So I have to trust that there's something deeper. There's a deeper process. I have to tell you something. I want you to talk about Aaron a little more, Brenda, if you don't mind. But
sure.
I want to talk about when I was sitting in Jalis's class this week, and I know you were in there with me, but the one thing about Korach, another side of his name means a cooling off period, or like ice, or a cooling off period. And she brought that out as that's kind of a warning sign that if you find yourself cooling off, especially women, if you find yourself now sometimes if there's a cooling off happening and you're noticing it, you notice it could just be you need to readjust yourself to get your passion back. That maybe you've stepped us back. I know for me, there's certain things that I will listen to podcasts on and it reignites. I know how to reignite my passion and things and to reignite my energy management. But sometimes we need, Brenda, your perfect example lately, Yeshua had to get away to recalibrate, right?
Right.
Because he had a physical body to deal with.
Yeah.
So he had to recalibrate because he found himself probably cooling off or something was happening. So Korach we have to remind, sometimes there's a thing when there's a cooling off, and what'll either happen is we grow cold to the sovereignty of him. We grow cold to what's happening. And what we do is we should look at it as a warning sign. It's a warning sign that we either need to do something to to get our passion back, to get back in alignment where we need to be, or we need physically to get some time out to recalibrate. And I just want to just add that little thing in there because this is also a time when we're seeing that, for him, what would have happened if he had just took a time out? Maybe he should have just put himself on outside the camp time and said, I'm cooling off. I have a cooling off here.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling warm and hot and fuzzy, about this whole temple, about carrying these things on my back with a pole. Not really feeling warm and fuzzy about the job. It's less than what I feel like, because I see, looks like Moses and Aaron, they look exalted. Their position's higher than mine. I have to carry these things with a pole on my back. My sons, my family members, we're all having to schlep this stuff. We don't even get an ox in a cart. We have to manually carry it. Instead of seeing it, it was like a huge honor. And the things
Huge.
that they were carrying were so important that they had to be cared for and they had to be treated differently. But in his eyes, he saw that as not
Not
as
as
important,
good. Yeah,
because
not as
maybe
good.
he just
Mhm.
had lost that love and feeling, right? He had just gotten
Yeah.
lost his love, warm and fuzzy. So are you feeling cold? I just want to put that out there. Are you
Mm,
feeling,
that's
you're
good.
not as passionate about the word? You're not as passionate as like me, not as passionate about your spouse, your family, things. You're, maybe you're involved in a ministry and all of a sudden you start losing that love and feeling. You start getting cold. Some of it might mean you need to get away and recalibrate so that you can hear from the Father, because you physically might be tired, physically, mentally, emotionally. Or it might mean that you need to dig into the word. You might need to find a way to get refreshed in
Yes.
knowing who he is, the sovereignty. I think that if you spend your time with the old song, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of
Mhm.
earth will grow faintly dim in the light of his glory and grace. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
I'm the song girl today.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really,
It's
that's what
so
needs to happen. When our eyes, I think, spend so much time looking around us, engaging in knowledge of good and evil, weighing
right.
things out. Well, this isn't fair. Well, this isn't right.
Yeah.
We're just picnicking under the knowledge, the
Mhm.
tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so
Right.
we might find ourselves getting cold, um, or not as passionate, and we find ourselves offended. That's an easy place to get offended. It's an easy place for us to get our feelings hurt. If you're finding yourself there, maybe it's time to pack up your picnic and go to the tree of life and just ask him to refill you. Doesn't mean the situations are going to change. There could evil people make evil choices, bad
Right.
leaders make bad choices. Doesn't
Right.
mean all that, but we have to trust.
Yeah.
He says that he's the one who put them in power.
Yes.
And if he
Exactly.
wanted it any different, he might be using them as a rod of correction for you. If he wanted it to be different, he would have made it different. If he wanted it to be this way that you think it should have been, he would have made it that way. And I
Mhm.
think that we're going to find over and over and over and over, it was all about teaching them his sovereignty.
Yes. Such a good message. That was sovereignty was the word that I have for this year. Isn't that interesting? I'm
Huh.
getting hit with it constantly. Only because obviously I needed it.
Yes.
I really love it. Um, I love how the Holy One gives instruction on how to bring about a correction and a change of focus. So this is really what he's doing, and how um, all of the things, this is such a great Torah portion. It's got so many, it's like one of those movies, made for TV movies. It's got so many elements to it. It's got the censers. We've got the censers flying with flames in the censers and incense. We have people in robes and hats, can only imagine. We have angry mobs. We have this is all we have, the earth opening up and swallowing people alive. The first few times that I read this, I will say first maybe 25 years that I read this. Okay, I'm tattling on myself. I thought that every one of Korach's ancestors was killed. I thought that what this
No.
was saying was that he wiped out everybody, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're reading in Psalms and it's
Psalms.
talking about the songs of Korach's sons. I'm like, how can that be? So this is me. So I asked Halisa, I'm like, Halisa, okay, it was last week. All right, guys. Halisa, I'm a little confused. I thought they were all dead. And I said, are they the same sons of Korach? Are they the sons of Korach in the Psalms that are these sons of Korach? And she's like, yeah, because the way that God honored them was that when they said, no, I will not be part of this, they were saved.
Mhm.
Because remember, Moses ran through the camp. Moses and Aaron are running through the camp. Get away from him, get away from him. Everybody get away quick, because God's pretty upset about this one. You might not survive the blowback. And those that chose to separate themselves from the three leaders, Korach and the D guy and the other guy, I forget their names, you know who they are, but
Yeah.
those people were saved. And so even though it says that Korach and his family, it was the ones that were attaching themselves to him, because his sons go on. Why? Because God had a plan for the lineage of Korach. Even though he himself was misguided, misdirected, and fell into that whole thing, God had a plan for his family, for his children. They were of the tribes that were to be part of caring for the tabernacle for all eternity. And so what happens? His sons, which means generations. I don't know how many generations that was, but it was generations when you say sons. Just like when you say fathers, it doesn't necessarily mean father. It could be father, grandfather, great grandfather. But his sons were instrumental in bringing about the book of Psalms and putting to music and putting to word these beautiful, beautiful worship, this beautiful adoration of the Holy One.
Isn't that redemption? There's
Oh
this
my
him
gosh,
chasing.
come
Remember, we say
on.
this. We say this like every week. He's chasing you
He's
down.
chasing you and your generations.
Generations. He's going to redeem your generation. He
Yeah.
redeemed Korach's generations. He redeemed them. And now they're not only are they're not just blighted out, they're actually singing the praises of Adonai. Yeah. I mean, carrying the people up on poles to worship. Hello. I mean, beautiful things they get to do. Somber put on here, if you're in a sovereignty, there's no vote. There, in the king, we don't get it because we are all like democracy. We fought the English. If you're in the United States, we fought for your democracy, so you have rights and you deserve it. And you see this rise up in everyone during the votes, and when during election times, everyone's rising up, and this ugly Korach spirit comes up in all of us. Yeah. All of us. It should have been this way. It should be my way. This is how we should do things. This is how this should be run, right? But she said, there's no vote. You're either loyal to the king, right, or you're not.
Right.
And I'm hearing hyperlink again. Choose this day who you'll serve. Do you believe he's sovereign? Do you? I mean, do you? Because I don't all the time.
Yeah.
I question a lot of things, and I know that I have free will in a sense, sort of, kind of. Don't get me there.
He has a way of changing our wills.
Today I sort of do. Tomorrow I may not have free will, so don't ask me tomorrow. But what I believe today, that's a better way to say it. So when I listen to this recording in 10 years, what I believe today is that he gives me just enough free will so that I get to be me and who he created me to be. But I do believe I have an assignment on this planet.
Yeah.
I do believe that he is sovereign. And I do believe that there's going to be a time, he tells us in Revelations, even that, we know every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Yes. They were questioning the word of the Almighty God.
Yes, they were. That's what they were questioning. They weren't really questioning Moses and Aaron. That was what it was packaged in. But who they were really questioning was God Almighty.
And we see that because they flipped the whole promise back to saying calling Egypt the land of milk and honey, right? Mm-hmm. So they're questioning the word of the Father. Who's the word? He was the word become flesh.
Yeah.
They were questioning that, no different than we question. So I think it's easy for me my whole life to look back at this, and I'm always have thought, oh, I would never do that. If I had seen the parting of the Red Sea, you had me at the Red Sea, you had me at the water coming out of the rock. But you know what? He didn't have me when my niece was healed of cancer. He didn't have me when he pulled me out of a miry clay. He didn't. I thought it should have been enough, right? We said last week.
Yeah.
It should have been enough, but it wasn't even for me. I've often talked about wanting to make a memory wall, because with pictures of all the miracles in my life, all the things when he showed up, just something that represented it. And it'd be little dollar store frames just all over a wall so that I would remember
Oh, that's beautiful.
his sovereignty. Because I can stand up and forget that and complain about my situation, not understand why I don't have good internet. I can't believe this happened. What am I doing? And I'm in a co-working space now, which is really hysterical. I'm
With
working
dogs and everything.
Dogs are here, co-working space. I'm waiting. My desk won't be available next week, but it's still, I'm working next to like a call center, like next to other people out there. And you guys, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to hear me talking about Torah like really loud in here. Like they can hear me out there now. I'm
Right.
trying to use a low talker voice, but please, there's a glass. That's it. And they're like, oh, what do you do? Do you really want to know? How do I don't know what I do. Yeah. So So trusting his sovereignty, trusting when wherever he's got you in your life. And it's hard. I don't want to minimize the horrible things if you've lost a child, if the horrible abuse you may have suffered.
Right.
How do we honor the sovereignty of him in that?
Right. Right. Yeah. That's so good. And for those of you that are in the process of grieving, those of you that are in the process of being healed and being brought, and the Father bringing wholeness and completeness and causing the fragments to come together, and you're in that process right now, embrace that process seriously, because it's in that process that you will know that he is sovereign, that he truly is your king, and he's thrown his cloak over you, and he is saying, I will cover you with my righteousness. It's not about yours, it's about mine, because he's the king and he is the one that's in charge. So I want you all to just feel his cloak being pulled over you right now and wrapped around you tightly, and he's saying, I am sovereign, I am your king, and I will cover this, I will take care of this, I will bring you to a place where all of your fragments are brought together and made whole. I will bring you to a place where your memories will no longer torment you, but they will be a yes and amen, and look where God has brought me from, and look how he's rescued me, and look what he's brought me into, and look at all the people that have come to hear him and know him because of this. Use it for your glory, Father. Every tragedy, every heartache, every wound, every fragment, Father God, use it for your glory, that you would be lifted high, that your name would be exalted above all the earth. And Father, that our eyes would not be upon ourselves, but upon who you are and what you do. And may your name today, Father God, be glorified in this earth and with each one of us, in this earth here, in each one of you, your earth. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. I have to say, this is really great. Millie has a question, or she put on here in the comments, she says, asking a question and questioning are totally different. And I think that is beautiful. That's exactly it. It wasn't that Korach had a question, he questioned. It was that he was questioning. Right. So, and I can come to God and say, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. Would you help me, Father? Help me understand what you're doing, because I don't get it. Would you help me understand? That's different.
Right.
That's totally. I have questions. I don't know what to do, Father. And my husband and I, we have a thing. I'm like, if you have a thing, just ask the questions. Ask me, hey, I don't understand what's going on. Would you help me understand where you came from on this? Because you might understand that there was a big story you don't even know.
Right. Right.
There's a big,
we don't have all the information, Charlie.
You know what's a good example, Brenda? Hosea.
Oh,
how many people would be like, why are you marrying a prostitute?
Right.
What are you, they'd be crack?
They'd be kicking him out of the camp right now.
And they don't understand that he was told to. And did anyone go to him and say, hey, buddy, how can I support you? Because it looks like you got a lot on your hands. Tell me this. I want to hear the story behind this, because there's got to be like, what's going on? But they questioned him.
Right.
Look at Job's friends.
Right.
They didn't ask him what was going on. They didn't ask questions. They questioned him.
Right.
There's oh my, Millie, I want the t-shirt. Millie, I need the t-shirt.
That's right.
It's a difference. There's a difference when you're going to your children.
Right.
are you asking questions or are you questioning? I mean, for those of you who are in the cafe going to Simi's like parenting class, you will have learned this. How are you coming across to them? Are you asking them questions? Are
Right.
you trying to find out? Are they hungry? Are you in a bad mood? Are you hurt? Because there's got
Right.
to be something more to this. I know people that I've thought, oh my gosh, and I compared myself, Brenda, and
Mhm.
I've compared myself. I can think of a woman I remember when I was younger in church and thinking, oh, I wish I had a husband like that. Oh, I wish he looked at me the way he looks at her. And at
Mhm.
one point I sat down with her and she was an older woman and I said, I just someday, gosh, I wish I had a husband who looked at me the way your husband looked at you. I wish that I had that. And she looked at me, sweet, sweet lady, and said, honey, and she gave me their testimony. Bottom line, he was a gambler, cheater, all these things, and that she loved him through some very hard things. And he and forgave him and loved him through, and they got restored. And I mean, I'm talking years and years and years that they did the hard work, and she stuck with him. And now he just adores her because she loved him in spite of all those things. You know
Right.
what? I have that husband now. We've
Yeah,
been
you
through
do.
some really, really, really hard things. And I have friends be like, oh gosh, I wish my husband was like that. They didn't see me when he was, we were separated and he was having a difficult time. And I was in my closet with his pictures all over my closet and scriptures and in my little war room and
In
crying
your
out to the
war room.
Father to bring healing to my marriage and to say, to circle him and to remind him who he was. He'd forgotten who he was and whose he was for our children, right? I can think of my daughter. I remember her times when she made some choices, which I have, Lord help me. And I know my mom did the same and surrounding me because I've forgotten who I was.
Yeah.
Korach forgot who he was.
Right.
He took look, he
Blinded.
got out of his lane and he forgot
Yeah.
who he was. And
Yep.
so now the good news, we see his sons. He got, it was redeemed, maybe not with him. We don't know what happened on the other side, but
Mhm.
with him,
Yeah.
we just know he got swallowed up. We can leave it there. That's another hill I don't want to go up. But I will just say that it was redeemed. That's all that matters.
Right.
My
Right.
marriage was redeemed.
Yes.
I've had friendships redeemed because we asked the questions and we didn't question, but asked the questions. And I think Simi does it. One thing I know she says all the time, and I don't even have never told you this, Simi. I know you're watching. I think still. Um, she asked something that hit in my head, and it's been playing for maybe 2 or 3 weeks now. Will this hurt her or help her?
Yeah.
Will this hurt the situation or will this help the situation? And I literally have that as a new filter that's in my brain that everything seems to go through. If I say this, will this hurt her or help her? And I'm shocked at how many things that have come out of my mouth that would hurt. And I thought I'm just being like, so that's all I
Wow.
have to say. Shocking.
So good. So good. Well, Charlie, this was an amazing portion. I hope that everybody, this is the portion of Korach. I hope that everybody got a chance to read it through. If you didn't, when you read it through tonight, tomorrow, when you read it through, you're going to be really touched by all of the little details that are in there and the imagery of Yeshua in the midst of the camp and hearing the Holy One again proclaiming his words. Whenever we see Adonai says, remember that these are red letters. Adonai is speaking his heart and his mind to us. It is the red letter. And that's where we really need to be focused and pay attention, because he's speaking things to us that will change our lives forever if we will embrace them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
And
really good.
don't be surprised this week if this was a week that you felt like you were going cold, maybe
Right.
like somber. I think I saw up there said something, the same thing can happen in your marriage and you need to
Yeah.
reignite the passion. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. Don't be surprised if this is happening this week. If you feel left out, if you feel
Yeah.
offended, if you feel
Right.
like a rise in social justice, like we need to make this right. We need to,
Right.
and I'm not just leave my mom's leave that. I'm just, if this is when you need to, there, that, don't be shocked if that didn't
Yeah.
rise up in you this week.
Yeah.
because it's cyclic. I mean, next year, get ready, it'll come up again, and might look different. It may not be about you. It may be about a group that you want to be an activist for. All I ask is that you just fall on your face and submit it to him and ask yourself, am I asking questions or am I questioning you, Father?
Mm.
What are you doing here? Because I want to be part of what you're doing. I don't want to be part of anything else. And I want to be just part of what you're doing. And I don't
Yes.
understand it, but I know you're God, and I understand that. And that's all I need to understand. And I can live that thus saith the Lord life and not, what do we say? Not get hysterical, but get historical. His Torah-cul.
Yep. And can I just say, fair warning. Okay, y'all, fair warning. Next week, Hukat, which is the mysteries that don't make sense. God saying things that we can't figure out. And it's basically because I said so. So this week has been the rumbling of what about, the comparisons and feeling left out. It's not fair. And, why is this happening and this isn't happening? And how come the blah, blah, blah. Next week will definitely the Torah portion. Next week is the Hukat. And that is because I said so. So I'm just gonna lay it there. Next week's Torah portion on the portion is going to be pretty quick.
Yes.
Don't know. It's all good. Not sure.
You do know that Brenda and I will be in Holisa's class like this.
Like, what does that mean? Oh, yeah. We'll be taking notes.
Monday and Tuesday, we will both be like this. Excuse me.
That's right. We'll just have her come in next week. That's all.
That's right. We need you to come in. We can't do this. So we're going to wrap this up and just go on into our party. I just want to say again, everyone who's listening later or listening up, please leave your comments, leave your questions. We want to hear how you're applying this to your life. That's what's really important to us. We want to know, not just like, oh, I knew how to I learned a new Hebrew word or whatever, which is important. We always want to hear that too, because we love nerding out on that. But what we want to hear too is, what did he say to you this week? If you feel really safe, you can say, okay, guys, here's the honest truth. This is what I went through this week. He put my taters in the fryer, and here's what happened. And this is how he dealt with me in this. I love to hear. We want to hear, because you know what? That's how we get to change. And let's not just compare each other's highlight reels. I mean, I told you, I've been through some stuff, sister, some stuff. And what I know is that every time I questioned him, it halted me. But he loves when we ask him questions. I love that. I love when you ask me questions, when people go, oh, I know you're busy, but I have a question. No. I love when you ask me questions. Love that. Now, if you're questioning something I'm doing, I just ask that you pray and that you've heard from the Holy One, and you say, he's talked to me, Charlie, and I have a couple questions, and I'm just going to hear it, come with it. If you're questioning, come with a solution. I love that. Like, hey, have you thought of this? This is what was your thinking? I love that. I love the dialogue of that. So that keeps me humble, and I appreciate you. So know that we're before the Lord. Know that we do fall on our faces praying for all of you. Here's what I need this week. Brenda, do you need anything first?
What do I need this week?
How can we support you?
You know what? Let's just support. You can support me by just continuing, as you do, all of you, praying, and trusting Abba to bring forth what it is that he wants to bring forth.
Yeah.
That's, really, as I pray for you the same way.
Thank you. Yeah.
All of you.
Pray for the women. I'm going to ask y'all to what I need this week is, I need for you to be praying for the women who will be coming to this conference that aren't part of this community, that you pray for them, that their hearts are set free, and that there would be freedom, that they would hear Torah, that maybe the way they've never heard it before, and they would find life and freedom and redemption and just beautiful love. And it wouldn't be about, it's going to come from the crazy. It could come from a testimony. We have ladies giving testimonies, and it might even be a speaker. It might be the mitochondria. Okay, girls,
Yeah.
there it
Right.
is. It might not be Dr. Dina Dye. It might be the mitochondria behind the scenes, the person taking out the trash in
Mhm.
this place I'm in. Who knows?
Someone that answered an email could be the one
Exactly.
that sets them free.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So that's what we just want. I just want women
Yeah.
set free.
Yeah.
I don't want them in bondage anymore. I want them to feel
Right.
life in Torah, life in Him, and that they would be set. We want to set captives free, and while she waits, right? That they're learning that the waiting period is not a prison. The waiting period is a place where we get set free of a lot of stuff, chains, a lot of
Mhm.
things. So if you will pray for that, that would be awesome.
That would be
Please invite
fantastic.
your friends. The
Yeah.
conference is free. It's live. We are not live streaming it anywhere. It is I'll just leave it that we're not live streaming. It is just show up. Here's the Zoom link. It's going to be a webinar. It's a webinar Zoom. We will have breakout sessions in Zoom rooms like this so that you can interact with your teachers. And then we do have the main speakers will be in a webinar format. So register, check your emails, make sure you keep looking for your email. Remember, it's Charlie at the Rooted Cafe. Add that in your contacts so it doesn't end up in promotions or spam. And then for those people who can't make it, and if you're a cafe member, this is in your library. If you'll get the all access pass, so you can watch the videos, all of them, all the breakout sessions, you'll have the downloads of the workbooks, everything. If you can't make it, we do have an all access pass. So you can purchase that. You'll get the videos, you get everything. Plus we will mail you a printed workbook so that you guys know that we do have that available. And the links are all, Sydney, whenever you listen to this, if you'll put that or someone put the links down below, put your links in there and you can get that. And you can get that after the conference too. But sometimes maybe you're going to the conference and you're like, I'm going to miss so much. And there's, I already know I'm going to have to listen to them 100 times.
Right.
So that's it. Be
Yeah.
blessed. It's not
Hey,
too
be
late to
blessed.
jump on with us right now with Zoom. We're going to stop recording and we're going to go into our after party. All of you, please be blessed.
Be blessed. Thank you all for joining us.
Know how much we love you. I love you, Brenda. So happy
Love
you're
you
here.
too, Charlie. So glad to be back.